Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Derek and Eric here. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
At the top of the hour, I wanted to mention something that a little curveball for you, but I want to wish a congratulations to Millie Bobby Brown and Jake Bon Jovi, who are giving love a good name.
What?
I'll see myself out. No, Millie Bobby Brown, the 19-year-old star of Stranger Things, got engaged to John Bon Jovi's son, Jake Bon Jovi, who's 20 years old. I haven't heard of a engagement this young in a long time.
19 seems wow. But she's lived a lot of life by the age of 19.
She has, and they seem very in love. I was scrolling through their Instagram.
You know, the quick aside to that, one of the things Stranger Things is known for is the music on the show. Like with Kate Bush last year. Well, this next season, I think, is going to be in 86, 87, which is when Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet came out.
This is huge.
So is she going to get her father-in-law's music on the show?
What would you use? Wanted, Dead, or Alive? No, there's
Living on a Prayer. It's going to be Living on a Prayer.
It's got to be Living on a Prayer, except the songs are already so big, and the show is known for taking sort of like deeper cuts or old hits and making them big again. We got to find a deep Bon Jovi cut, which is very hard to do.
They were all hits.
They were all hits. All right, so let's move on to our real stories. Sandoval. We're still dealing with the fallout from the Sandoval, and we're learning more information about what Tom and Raquel did months and months before this whole scandal broke in March. So in December, so remember, their affair allegedly starts in July of 2022. Right. It wasn't a scandal until March of this year.
Which is when Ariana found out about it.
That's right. So that's a huge period. That's 9-month period where they were just living life. He was having an affair, but he was still with Ariana. We've now learned that in December of that year, around the holidays, Tom went home to St. Louis, where he's from. And rather than bringing his girlfriend, his sort of at least by the books girlfriend, Ariana, he brings Raquel. He brings Raquel and sort of trots her out and tries to introduce her to his family, who wanted no part of it. They thought
good for them.
Gross, and good for them. I'm now learning a little bit about Tom, and I think
he's gross.
He's gross, and he's also, what is so unappealing about him is he's a coward.
Right.
I think what Tom was doing, and why it's been so universal to come out against Tom Sandoval is Tom had a beautiful girlfriend in Ariana. Maybe their relationship wasn't perfect, but instead of being sort of open about the problems they had and trying to address them, or just breaking things off, he tried to feather his bed. He tried to start an entire new relationship while this one was still on the back burner.
He did. I mean, they'd been dating, 5-6 months at that point, and he brought her home to meet his family over the holidays. Even if he wasn't with Ariana, that's kind of quick. And 6 months, go home and meet the parents.
It's wild.
And how did
to bring your mistress home? I mean, I say mistress, and that's usually in a marriage. But Ariana and Tom on the show were like a marriage.
They were together like 10 years, right?
Yes, they were together 10 years, and sort of a modern marriage.
So where was Ariana? So this was December 28th-ish?
Yes.
I think. So that's right between Christmas and New Year's.
Yes.
You would think that they would have plans together, Tom and Ariana.
Yes. So
maybe because they have different, work lives. They could have been in different places or seeing their own families or whatever.
Sure.
But how does he sneak his girlfriend to his family between Christmas and New Year's?
It's remarkable to me. You and I are both married. I think I actually am curious about your take on this, because when you're married, when you have little kids, you sort of bring them to a relative. You either go see my parents or go to Mary's parents, and the kids are involved, and the holidays are all about sort of keeping them entertained. But you don't have kids, and you and Lauren, I assume, sort of flop back and forth. Would you ever take different trips? You go to West Virginia, and she would go to visit her family?
We did once for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
The trick with that is,
marriage.
So her dad's in Arizona, her mom's in Florida, mine's in West Virginia. So it's, you only get so much vacation time a year.
Right.
And, getting holidays off around here is not easy.
Did you bring your side girlfriend to Virginia?
Oh, God, the idea of a side girlfriend sounds horrible. One relationship's hard enough. Two? Who would want that?
It's remarkable. And I think he is now one of the chief heels of reality television folklore now. His fall from grace, he was always sort of this poser who wants to be in a rock band and grew out this mustache. And that show is already kind of tawdry and appealing to a certain type of reality show watcher. But he's a new low. I got to say, there's something indefensible when your family won't stand by you in any way, shape, or form and say, hey, what you're doing is weird, and we're not going to have her over to our house unless you break up with Ariana.
And do you think his family knew who she was before he just showed up at the door with her? Because if they're expecting, Tom and Ariana are coming for the holidays, and then he shows up with somebody else, and they're like, oh, did you guys break up? No.
Yeah. Now, you raise one important I think Tom's defense in all this is going to be something along the lines of Ariana knew we were having serious problems, but that doesn't give him a pass. Unless he formally ends things with his spouse, you're just going through problems. That's called a relationship. Relationships go through ups and downs, and unless he ended things because they weren't having sex, or there's been all these reports about
we talked about this in the room, and I was actually surprised some of the women in the room were like, well, Ariana should have known there were problems. This shouldn't be a surprise.
I was floored by that.
Having problems is one thing. Breaking up is one. Maybe she could have seen like, oh, well, a breakup was inevitable. But that you've been dating somebody I know for almost a year? This is
both sort of the emotional and physical type of cheating. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's one thing where your mind wanders and you start to like sort of develop feelings for someone else, but you don't take physical action. Or on the other side, you are so sexually frustrated that you go have dalliances, but they're one night stands with women you don't care about. He has done the worst you can do. He's had an emotional and physical affair for 9 months on his girlfriend of 10 years. That's why he is gross to everyone,
because
except
even
for Raquel.
Even like a lot, like you see it in movie and TV and stuff, like guys cheat, and the first thing they always say is like, it didn't mean anything.
Yes.
This clearly meant something.
It meant a lot.
That he was taking her home to meet his parents over the holidays.
Now I want to shift. We know Tom's a piece of human garbage, just stinky. I
don't know the guy.
There's no defense for this type of behavior. I want to talk about Raquel. So Raquel, in the first instance, if you were thinking, oh, you know, they maybe got drunk and he had a one-night affair. It wasn't that. It's a 9-month relationship.
They're still together.
Does she bear some responsibility? I think she is not as bad, but she does at this point. She was such
good
friends with Ariana, and she was involved in this true relationship with this guy while he was in a relationship with her friend.
And that's the thing too. Having a relationship with somebody that you know is already in another relationship is its own kind of thing. When you're friends with the other person, or at least claim to be, how do you do that?
Although in general, I hate homewrecker logic, because the guy who owes the responsibility is he owes the responsibility.
It's on both of
Ariana.
them. It's not it's not blaming her like, oh, she broke up their house. No, it was the two of them.
That's right. That's right. And it just feels like Ariana is like sort of almost this sort of perfect victim. Even though their relationship had problems, she didn't know that he conducted himself in an entire new relationship.
If they had problems and say he thought the problems were mostly her fault, then break up.
Yes.
That's the thing to do.
That's an option. It's also like a very available option. Again, I go back to like why he's the worst, because when you're in a 10-year even committed relationship, but it's not a marriage where there's sort of like, oh, we have to divvy up our resources.
There were no children. There's no
we have to figure out, custody. There's none of that. This is a girlfriend, a long-term one.
Right.
But break up with her. If you're not happy, break up. This is sort of getting into the territory of Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins. They're in a long-term relationship, but they broke up. It's like, that's what makes it easy when you don't do the formality of a marriage.
And even that was probably harder because they were multi-millionaires and probably owned property and had some joint assets they had to divvy up.
Yes.
They did it.
They did it. It was fine. I mean, I don't know the circumstances of that breakup, but this is definitely not the way to do it. All right, let's move on to another breakup. So we're doing all breakups. That's why, by the way, I wanted to start the show with a little bit of happy news about John Bon Jovi's son and Millie Bobby Brown. But anyway, the other big breakup that is unavoidable in the news is Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn. Tell us what's going on with the fallout of that.
So they are broken up, and the thing is, Swift,
amicable though by her.
That's what we're hearing. We've heard no dirt or anything. That's why I think it was a surprise to people, because as far as we know, and she's always as public as Taylor Swift is with her relationships, she and Joe were fairly private. Like, you kind of forget, if you're not like a hardcore Swiftie. For the rest of us, it's like, oh, 6 years? I didn't realize they were together that long.
I would also say she's public about her breakups, but she always controls the narrative through her songs.
Right.
She's not like a tabloid fodder in a way that she sort of traipses around and has open sort of like, conversations with paparazzi. She controls her narrative, and she's doing it here too.
She's doing it, and this is one of those times I was, reading about this, and it's like, oh, Swifties are looking for clues in this, and like sometimes they're reading too much into stuff.
Sure.
But also Taylor Swift is whether you like her music or not, she's brilliant at marketing it.
Yeah.
So she was spotted out with Jack Antonoff and his wife, which is her close friend, collaborator. They work on albums together.
One of the big time producers of modern music. Jack Antonoff from Fun is really a huge music
So
producer.
they're hanging out.
Yeah.
Post breakup, and people are like, she's wearing this J necklace that fans are like, oh, that's the one that he gave her. So is she heartbroken? And
that would be from Joe, not from Jack, right?
Yes. Sorry. Oh yeah, sorry. But this is where I think so much of this is deliberate, because you think, oh, Taylor Swift just went out, and people are reading too much into it. Well, she and Jack are hanging out on Cornelia Street in New York, which is a song of hers called Cornelia Street, about her and Joe Alwyn, which has the lyric, I hope I never lose you. Hope it never ends. I'd never walk Cornelia Street again. And that song is now seeing a 106% spike in its streaming numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So she's promoting this old song just by walking down a street.
There's something about
it's brilliant. I can't even hate on it,
honestly. There's so much intentionality behind how she conducts her life to have this dinner with a famous producer who she's worked with in the wake of her breakup. It's not coincidence, right? I don't know if she's driving streams because she just sort of finds it fun and wants to say, like, I'll have a dinner there and I'll drive the streams to this. She's so wealthy that she's not like grubbing for downloads. Taylor Swift is
she doesn't need that.
Tickets. She broke Ticketmaster. I mean,
she
doesn't
does
need these little gimmicks, but she does them anyway because I think likes it.
Loves it, like chart numbers and things. She's very obsessed with that. She's into that, and I'm a chart nerd, so I don't hate on her for that.
She's like Garth Brooks.
Mariah Carey's the same way. Mariah loves getting her #1 hits.
Yeah.
Like when Taylor was gonna get knocked out of #1, "Antihero" by Drake's Rich Flex, she released like 8 or 9 remixes that week, all exclusively for sale on her web store, and the sales kept her #1. She released them. They're timed perfectly. That she knows what she's doing.
Yes.
So
and we don't hold it against people like Mariah and Taylor because they're the queens anyway. Even notwithstanding these gimmicks, I
don't need it.
Have a more jaundiced eye at people who are like grubbing for relevance. Like she's not grubbing. She's just
fun
sort of
for
toying
her.
with everyone. Yeah, it's
because
fun for her.
she has nothing to prove.
There's nothing to prove.
And so if you can walk down a certain street in New York and be photographed, and it causes your song to start streaming like crazy because your fans are like, "Oh no, she's on the street that the song's about."
Yes.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Do you read tea leaves here with the meeting with Jack? Like, is she going to do music with him? Were some of her best charting songs with Jack Antonoff? I mean,
they're probably going to. It's weird to think, are they working on new music?
Yeah.
Because she just released Midnights a couple months ago. She's on tour right now, so it seems like it would be difficult for her to record a whole new album. She's also doing her Taylor's version, re-record things. That's going on. So
she's a juggernaut, though.
But also, she and Jack are friends. They could just be having dinner.
Right. Is Margaret Qualley? Do you know anything about that inclusion? Is she with Jack Antonoff?
Yeah, she is. That's his fiance.
Oh, it is his fiance. Okay, because he famously had dated Lena Dunham for like a long time, and now he's with Margaret Qualley. So
no, it's just his fiance, and they just had dinner together. I think.
All right, so no romance. So there's no romance rumors with Jack or anything like that. He's already in a committed relationship.
Speaking of Mariah Carey, though,
yes,
there could be something else Mariah and Taylor have in common: children.
We could have some half siblings here.
Because Nick Cannon was talking to Howard Stern and talked about if he would want to have kids with Taylor Swift, and this is what he said.
Who would be the woman that make you have a baby again? Right now, right off the top of your head, I said to you, could have any woman in the world.
Doing
Nick.
this.
Who could it be?
See the headline.
If I said to you, like if I said to you, Nick, Taylor Swift wants to have a baby with you.
Absolutely.
Would that do it?
I'm in.
That would
Let's
do it.
go. That's the one. I'm all in.
What is it about her?
First of all, she's an amazing songwriter. And what I do love about Taylor Swift is the fact that she has been so vulnerable and open with all of her music since a young girl. And she kind of like me. Like, me and Taylor's numbers is very similar when we're talking about being in these streets.
So there's something about this clip. Howard Stern used to have these sort of like provocative clips that would float around online. There's something old-fashioned about this, and I found it, I'll be honest, a little bit gross. I know they're doing it in good humor, and I'm not going to sort of overstate that this is, weird, but talking with Nick Cannon about who he wants to impregnate, and he's like, it's sort of like picking Taylor Swift. It was prompted to him. He didn't just say, the next baby I want to have with Taylor Swift, but his response is sort of a compliment, but sort of weird that he wants to sort of make children with a great songwriter. I find the
he already has.
He has. He's going to have the two biggest sort of songwriting geniuses.
I mean, obviously this is a joke. This is not going to happen. But I do love the idea of Mariah Carey and Taylor Swift having children that are half related.
Yeah, it would be incredible. I mean, what a story to have half siblings out there that are half Mariah Carey, Nick Cannon being the bridge between the two titans, the titan of the 90s and the titan of the aughts. It's just it couldn't be scripted any better, and just Nick Cannon sitting in the middle like, hey, I don't know, I'm that guy. He's interesting. He goes on these tours, like he'll speak and be interviewed, but he must know that the only reason he's being booked is to talk about this stuff. So the thing I hate is like, I'm not going to go there about like my many, many children. But really,
he's like, I know what the headline's going to be. Of course you do. That's why you're going to say it.
Yes, I don't like that. There's something old fashioned. It's like, be open. You know why Howard had you on the show. He didn't want to talk about America's Got Talent. He didn't want to talk about you hosting some show that's been on the air. He wanted to talk about the fact that you have 12 children. You've had them in quick succession with many different women. That is sort of the life you are leading, and it's okay, no judgment.
Also,
apparently
just
doing
to
well.
throw out there, Taylor's favorite number is 13.
Oh, is that true?
That is true. That's her number.
So if he had lucky number 13,
she might do it just to have the 13th kid.
This is now turned into a very good idea. I think you've orchestrated something here.
See? Think about it, Taylor.
We need to make this happen. All right, that'll do it for us today. We'll see you guys next time.